what is best for business is I main event WrestleMania.
Welcome back to Pinfall Productions, everybody. This is the Ace, and I've got the script for John Cena's entire heel run. Or maybe not, but at least I've got a wild idea, a fantasy booking that you guys would probably love. An entire epic character arc that sees John Cena's final run turn into one of the most compelling storylines in WWE history. This is something that we've been wondering for the past 2 decades. People have been always making up storylines and arcs that could probably see John Cena as a heel, but we never got to see it. We just saw a few glimpses, maybe during 2011, during the Nexus run where he joined the Nexus, but it wasn't really him being a heel. Even with the Nexus, he was just beating everybody up or feeling guilty for being a bad guy. And it was so obvious that he's a good guy trying to be bad, but so that wasn't really a heel turn. If anything, in 2012, with his feud with Kane, I feel like that's when we actually saw a little proper glimpse of him as a villain, when he was trying to embrace the hate, and that's what Kane was trying to psychologically make him do. And that was a decent feud, but again, didn't end up being a very long one. And in the end, it was just Cena doing the same salute with the same shirt and the same theme song, being everybody's hero. And that's why he was getting booed out of the building. So yeah, booking him as a face didn't really make sense, but they did what they did. Vince, classic Vince. But finally, we've got Triple H, who is not afraid to pull the trigger, and we have finally seen the turn of Cena, a heel turn of the ages. And what they can do with this is something that probably would sound wild, but it also makes sense, and it is very feasible, very plausible, and that is a forming of a faction named as probably HWO, Hollywood World Order. They could come up with any other name. This is just a random name that kind of sounds cool, since they're all Hollywood boys now, including The Rock, Cena, and Roman kinda is. He's been doing some filming. We've seen him be in, BTS of some action sets or movie sets, especially since he's been taking so much time off. Every other week it just goes away, and especially since he lost the title, we saw him filming for a movie. So we could call it the Hollywood World Order, and it would make so much sense since The Rock wore the whole Ulafala on Roman Reigns in January 6th, the Netflix premiere. So we saw him supporting Roman, and now we've seen him, get Cena on his side. And if you guys remember his gesture on Bad Blood at the end, and now everybody's connecting the dots finally. They were all making fun of him, how he was counting to 3 and how it looked goofy, but it all made sense, didn't it? And everybody's like, oh, it was right there, it was always there, it was right there in front of us, and we couldn't see, we were making fun. But yeah, that's what I mean. Like, they're geniuses. Everybody sitting there is a genius in the creative board, especially now. Like, long-term storytelling is the most primal aspect of this entire industry now, especially since Triple H has taken over. So I feel like that 3-finger gesture was not just an indication of John Cena joining his side or joining the dark side. I feel like that was also an indication of the number of people that are going to be in the faction. So it's him being the one, and then John Cena being the second one. The reason why I feel like that is because on Elimination Chamber, if you guys noticed, when he did the whole gesture of killing Cody, he kept the 2 fingers up still. And then he told Cena to pull the trigger. So we saw 2 fingers. So first it was 3, now there's 2, meaning that Cena has joined. So it's Cena and him. Probably Travis too. But who I think would be the final member would be none other than the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. And considering that he never changed, if you guys remember, on one Raw or maybe SmackDown it was, when Roman returned, on one of the Monday nights or maybe Friday nights, when he cut a promo, he said something that went like, the Tribal Chief never changes. things have been changing around here. A lot of things have changed. But you know, your boy, your tribal chief, never changes. I feel like that could, play into this whole faction. It could play into the role with Roman joining The Rock and Cena. And honestly, he's never been a full-blown face throughout this run. Ever since he's lost the title, he's still been the tribal chief, and that's something that we all have noticed. We're cheering him because, he's earned the respect and he's earned the love that everybody's giving him because he carried the whole industry for like 3-4 years straight. But in reality, he hasn't really given in to the whole face thing. He's just loving the love he's getting because he believes he deserves it. And character-wise, I feel like it makes so much sense for him to join Cena and The Rock. And Cena could finally win the championship on WrestleMania, his 17th championship, and this is how I feel like the whole run could, be perfect. It could be Cena winning the championship at WrestleMania with the help of everybody, the help of Rock, Roman, Travis Scott too, even, you never know. Could be bloodline rules, it could be anything The Rock wants, right? So it would just make sense for Cena to finally win the championship, and him winning the championship at WrestleMania, I don't care if he wins it as a heel or as a face, as long as he's winning. So it would be perfect, and then we could have him, go ahead and have his WrestleMania rematch, which usually is what happens, or it would make sense for it to happen, unless they make Cody go away for a while. But if they don't, then at Backlash, which is usually the PLE following WrestleMania, we could have the Mania rematch between Cena and Cody, and Cena could again pick up the victory, probably by a DQ or probably by cheating, since he is going to be a full-blown heel. We could explore so many things and so many ways of Cena winning and just retaining his championship constantly on every other PLE, and then we could have him defend it probably on Money in the Bank. At Money in the Bank, we could have CM Punk invoke his clause for a title match with John Cena, since he could argue about him being the final member in the Elimination Chamber match and how he took advantage of him, and that's not really what John Cena does. He could, remind him of all the old matches that he's had, and even remind him in the promos. I mean, the promos are going to be legendary, that's given. Whether it's heel Cena or face Cena, I feel like heel Cena, he's going to have so much more freedom and so much more things that he could say, which he holds himself back during the face promos. I feel like it's going to be legendary. So him going head to head with CM Punk on the mic again. And I feel like this whole path after the rematch with Cody at Backlash, we could just go towards a path of his peers, his friends, walking up to him and telling him how this is not him, this is not who he truly is. And this would be the perfect way and the perfect sensible booking of having one last match of Cena with every single person that we want him to have a last match with. Since it's his last year, this is the only way that it would have made sense, and Triple H is such a genius for turning Cena heel, because how else would we have the fantasy matches or the dream matches that we wanted, the matches that we wanted to see one last time, matches from decades ago? We can't just have them randomly, or otherwise there would be no difference between Triple H's booking and Vince's booking. So him turning Cena heel just opens so many possibilities, because now we can go down the path of all of his friends coming back to him one by one and telling him that it's not who he really is and he shouldn't have joined the dark side. He needs to wake up, he needs to snap out of it, somewhat like what Edge tried to do in 2012 when he was on a losing run, and he just showed up on Raw and he told Cena that this is not who you are. The Cena I know always rises up against hate, rises above hate, rises against all odds, and wins. That's what Cena does. And one of those peers or one of those people for this run could be CM Punk. As a matter of fact, he could be the first one. So immediately following Backlash, maybe Cena could go away for a little while And when he comes back, it could be CM Punk calling him out. Not only calling him out to show him who he really is, but also invoke his rematch or his clause for a title match against him, since he was the last person in the chamber and he didn't really beat him clean, right? He got eliminated by passing out. He didn't tap, he didn't get pinned, and he was attacked by an eliminated member, by Seth Rollins, and John Cena took advantage of that. So he could use this whole angle, as well as him being his friend, to invoke a clause or invoke a title match at Money in the Bank 2025, and we could, run it back. Taking a trip down memory lane where John Cena defends his championship against CM Punk one more time. Same man, same PLE, just 14 years later. Last time we saw it was on Money in the Bank 2011 in Chicago, one of the greatest matches of both of the superstars' careers, and it went down in history as one of the most memorable ones. And we could have that same championship match again with John Cena and CM Punk facing one more time, probably one last time, and this time John Cena avenges his defeat from Chicago, saying that it was one of his biggest losses, and since he's a heel, he's gonna do everything in his power to make sure that this time he doesn't lose to CM Punk. And so in this way, we could see him again cheat or slither his way to victory, just like he did against Cody at WrestleMania as well as at Backlash. And this would just continue his heel run. He could probably get a little aid from Roman Reigns, and that could set up another match between Roman and Punk for the next PLEs, so Cena can get diverted from Punk and he could find another opponent. And another opponent could be none other than Randy Orton. Randy Orton and Cena could be the setup for Summerslam, one of the biggest events of the summer. It's literally one of the big 4 PPVs, so it would just make sense for this star-studded main event between Cena and Randy Orton. And again, not only is it a big main event, but it's also a match that we all want to see one last time. And obviously we're not going to see it at WrestleMania since Cena's retiring in December, and this WrestleMania he's facing Cody. So it only makes sense for Cena and Randy to not happen on a random Raw or SmackDown or any other PLE, but it should happen on SummerSlam. And it could be Randy calling out Cena on probably a SmackDown after Cena defeats CM Punk again in a horrible manner, and it could make sense, just like I said, that we're gonna be having his former peers, his friends showing up on segments and calling Cena out and telling him that it's not who he really is. And Randy could tell him that we go way back to OVW, even before WWE, that we've been friends for such a long time, and we've been in a part of this whole industry, and it could just make sense for them to have this feud. And Cena would tell him that I finally realized why you always kept taking the shortcut, and he could tell him that you're the last person to tell me that this is the wrong way or this is a bad thing to do or selling out is the worst thing, because you yourself have sold out multiple times throughout your entire career. That's all you've ever done. First with Evolution, then with siding with Edge, becoming Rated RKO, then with Legacy, then with The Authority. All you've ever done is taken shortcuts, and we could run it back. The whole promo could be legendary. This time, for the first time in a long time, we could see the tables being turned, and instead of the traditional heel Randy versus face Cena, the sides are switched. The whole thing is flipped now, and this time it's going to be heel Cena versus face Randy. This is how they finally go down in their final one-on-one match, and again John Cena will somehow win by assistance or cheating or whatever, since he's a heel. And the best part about this whole situation is that people are actually gonna cheer him throughout his run, whether he's heel, whether he turns again, no matter what he does, he's gonna get the cheers, and that's the best part. And so yeah, him retaining at SummerSlam is my prediction as well. So he'll have this consistent retaining at Backlash against Cody, at Money in the Bank against Punk, and then at Summerslam against Orton, and then he could probably go off, do movies, or just go off TV showing that that's what he can do. That's the perks of being a corporate champion, and the perks of having all the power and being on the dark side. And so he could just just like Roman, he could just dip with the championship for a few more months. And the thing that they can do throughout this whole process is somewhat show that John Cena behind the scenes is actually talking with Roman and telling Roman something that Rock doesn't know, and Rock could get informed about this, that the final boss is unaware of a few things that are happening around him. And it could be so cinematic and so dramatic, and it would make the perfect storyline sense as well for him to turn on the Rock, especially since he's gonna be being shown the mirror by all of his friends throughout these months, and you could just see his face and the emotional struggle of him trying to battle between this good side and this dark side, and just seeing that who he truly is, and the fact that he has the championship, he has everything, but he still doesn't feel complete, and he doesn't feel happy because he doesn't have the crown, and he realizes it's not who he really is. He doesn't really turn on The Rock immediately, but you could just see signs of him slightly changing, or slightly just realizing that he doesn't feel good doing all of this, even though he has the championship and he's broken the record of Ric Flair and he's become the 17-time champion, but he still doesn't feel like any of this is right. And we could have him talk to Roman about this, and we could have him brainwash Roman, probably telling him that where was Rock when he really needed him, except for the WrestleMania match where he really just wanted to be there because he's egotistical. He wanted to steal his spotlight and be in the main event of Mania, and that's what he did, and he ended up pinning Cody Rhodes. He took the spotlight, he wanted the spotlight, and that's the only time where he was there. But apart from that, when he had this WarGames, Rock was nowhere to be found. And when he had that Civil War bloodline at Bad Blood, even then, Rock was nowhere to be found until the end, when he had finally won. When he was looking for a partner, he had to choose, or he had to side with Cody of all people, because nobody would join him, not even Rock. So he could tell him this, and he could make Roman realize that Rock is not really a brother. He's not really the guy he could trust. And they both start to realize that, and over time, behind the scenes, when he's doing all of these things, we could finally see The Rock being aware of all of this, and at some point, probably after Bad Blood 2025, which usually happens in October, we could see John Cena losing the championship, probably to Cody. Would make the most sense for Cody to retain the championship, and when that happens, we could see probably on Bad Blood or the Monday night or the Friday night after that, where Rock tells them that you boys have been cooking up something that The Rock doesn't know. And he could do his whole final boss shtick and tell them, oh, you guys thought that the final boss would have known. No, let me make something crystal clear for you boys. The final boss always wins. The final boss always knows what's happening. He could do his whole thing, just drag a simple point that he could make in 2 or 5 minutes to a whole 25 minute segment, only to explain to all of his trailer park garbage gathering that he knows what Roman and Cena have been cooking for the past few weeks or months. But the thing is that they don't know what The Rock has been cooking. And that is when the whole new bloodline could come in. You could tell them that he always had a backup plan if you two ever tried to turn on him. And it could be Solo, Jacob, Tama Tonga Loa coming back. It could be Rock with those 4 attacking Roman and Cena, and that's when we could have Cody come back and actually side with Cena, and Jey Uso come back and Jimmy Uso come back, and it could be the whole OG bloodline and the former face of the company, John Cena, coming back to his senses and realizing what truly is best for business, joining forces with the current faces of WWE with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. And there you have it. Your WarGames match is set up 5-on-5. could be the biggest WarGames match, and with that we could also have John Cena participate in his first ever and last ever WarGames match, because it's something that he has never done, so it would make the perfect sense. We could see John, Roman, Cody, Jey Uso, and Jimmy Uso go head to head 5-on-5 with Rock and the whole new bloodline, setting up a WarGames match that would be remembered for decades to come. And that is what we can set up, or lay the seeds for the final match of John Cena, since WarGames is going to be happening in November and December is the month that he retires in. And we've been hearing reports that WWE is going to be coming up with a new PLE named Ruthless Aggression, just for the sake of a farewell to John Cena, which would make so much sense for John Cena to have his final match against The Rock. His storyline wise, it would only make sense for John Cena to go head to head with The Rock, considering that the whole heel turn, his whole life was turned upside down because of The Rock, because of the favor that he gave, because of the offer that he gave, and how he just pulled him over to the dark side, trying to sabotage his final year, the year that he's going to be bidding farewell to the whole WWE Universe angle. And the WarGames match could be the perfect setup, with Rock being the final member in that whole match, Team Cena coming out on top. Cena could put a nail in the coffin of this whole storyline when he goes head to head with The Rock at Ruthless Aggression in December 2025, winning the match, winning the trilogy, having the record against him be 2-1 in the end, and finally say goodbye to everybody and ride off into the sunset. And on that PLE itself, when we could finally have Roman show up at the end of the match probably, or even help Cena win the match, that is when we can move forward with the whole storyline of Rock versus Roman. The dream match that we've been waiting for the past 2 years can finally come into fruition at WrestleMania 42, and the build-up would start in December 2025, close to Royal Rumble, just almost entering the WrestleMania season. It would make the perfect sense for Roman and Rock to have a face-off that night. A face-off that they tried to show us, that they tried to do nearly a year ago when Rock tried to insert himself in Cody's story. But unlike last year, this year people would actually support that idea and would actually be rooting for this entire main event, and it would make the perfect sense. And there you have it, the whole Cena heel / face run and his final farewell run booked, and also setting up a main event for WrestleMania 42. So let me know what you guys think about this whole fantasy booking. If you like some of the parts, if you like the entire booking, if you wanted to change something up, let me know in the comments below. And like always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn the notification bell on, just so you know exactly when the pinfall happens.